Autumn Reinhardt Simpson has spent much of her life helping people access abortions, first in her home country of the United States, and now from where she lives in Edmonton, Alberta.
Here in Alberta, we have 3 clinics, but they are focused in Calgary and Edmonton, so we still have a hard time getting people in rural areas into the cities for their appointments.
Abortions are one of the most common surgical procedures in Canada. They are funded under provincial health plans and legally available across the country. But often access is not simple.
A lot of times I'm just kind of driving around the province, picking people up or things like that. So that takes time, that takes gas, that takes food, that takes childcare. You've just got all of these logistics to think about that can present really severe barriers, especially for Indigenous people and especially Indigenous people living outside of the city.
And if the procedure becomes harder to access in the United States, it could compound matters in Canada.
In Canada nowadays, the vast majority of abortions, among Canadians happens in Canada, but very rarely for late diagnoses of abnormal pregnancies or a late diagnosis of pregnancy in a socially complicated situation. Patients may have the option of traveling to the United States.
While national statistics are not available, more than 100 women in Ontario have traveled to the U.S. for an abortion in the last 10 years. And as U.S. state abortion bans take effect, advocates expect to see more patients coming here.
I think most of the traveling in the United States will go towards the nearest possible option. So for some people that will be Canada, and so that will of course put pressure on an already overburdened health system here in our own country.
I suspect that we'll see an increase in orders for mifepristone across the United States that could translate to drug shortages for the abortion pill in Canada.
While Roe v. Wade passed in 1973, abortions didn't become widely and legally accessible in Canada until 1989. 30 years later, while that right remains in place, it's one Canadian advocates say should not be taken for granted. Heather, Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.